welcome back to the Data and AI track here at PyCon EU 2025. With me I have Renee Noble, who is presenting What's in a Name? Fuzzy Matching Techniques for Proper Nouns. Please give a warm PyCon EU welcome to Renee.
Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to be here in the Data and AI track. I've been to PyCon a lot of times and presented a lot of times, but always in the education track, so this is an exciting and new venue for me. And I'm excited to tell you about words and when they don't go together quite right. Yes, I am Renee Noble. Here are some things where you can find me. Things about me, in my day job, I am a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft in the Python cloud advocacy team, which is why I got to do cool things with Python and data and get to be here today, which is very exciting. In my spare time, I run a charity called Tech Inclusion, and our main offering is the Girls Programming Network, which has been teaching girls to code around Australia for 17 years for free. That's really cool. So you talk to me about that anytime, and I will endlessly tell you about cool stuff that we do. I also run the Sydney Python meetup with other cool people who are also in this room. Today, I'm going to tell you about a few things. So, as I mentioned, I am the CEO of the Girls Program Network. That's going to be coming back. I'm going to talk about my data dilemma, my way for how to fake your way through Sydney school names with generative AI, comparing fuzzy matching libraries for humans, my hybrid approach to fuzzy matching, and then what will I match next? So, my data dilemma. As I said, Girls Program Network. I, as the CEO, have all the dirt. By dirt, I mean dirty data. I have so much data, so much dirty data. 17 years of student names, student scores, tutor names, as well as parents' names, email addresses, survey results, sign-ups for tutors, room allocations, etc., etc., etc. It's all there. It's my job as the CEO to make sure it's all stored correctly and safely, and also to make sure we get the best value out of our data, to make sure we're actually doing a good thing at GPN. So why do we actually need to match this data? Firstly, it's really useful for things like providing medical support and well-being support during our events. Someone might tell us in the lead up to an event, hey, my kid, she is deadly allergic to peanuts, but don't worry, she has an EpiPen, and it'll all be okay if you know that. It's like, good to know, I'll remember that for later. Then we also want to be able to track how students move through our program. Maybe they come along to GPN Junior when they're just this big, and then they'll be coming along when they're this big as a tutor, volunteering, being a leader around Australia, really cool stuff. But we'd love to see that journey. You know who really likes to know about that? Sponsors. Then they'll give us more money, and then we'll teach more girls to code and be really cool. What's also really helpful is being able to map where people come to GPN events from, because it can be like, there's a whole bunch of people coming to GPN Sydney from Newcastle, maybe we should have a GPN Newcastle, or something like that. We'll really be able to help us grow and make sure we're doing the best that we can. So, the data is not very clean, and this is for a few reasons. We have a lot of different people inputting this data, firstly. We've got parents potentially signing kids up, kids signing themselves up. On the day, I get the kids to do a survey once they're there. Firstly, you swipe in, just like you did here at PyCon AU, being like, hey, here's my QR code, can I come in? I'm like, you certainly can. And from that data, I do know that you have the deadly allergy to peanuts and that you have the EpiPen in your back. That's great. And then you go into the room of 150 students who will then get smushed up into different classrooms based on how much they know, and this, that, and the other, who their friends are. That'll all happen. And then them too, fill out a survey again, being like, hello, I am here, and I am from this school. So we've got parents potentially doing data inputting. We've got kids inputting data. Kids are not good at inputting data. They are very bad at it. With their tiny little hands, they're bad at typing. They don't know how to spell a lot of the time, which you'll see in a second. So let's start with some school names. We have a great turnout of girls coming from Certain College to GPN. There's an awesome teacher, her girl went to GPN and is now a tutor, and she's like, every kid I can get to go to GPN, I will. So we have so many people and filling in GPN surveys who are from Certain College. Also, Certain College, lowercase, very easy to match that, that's okay. Or Certain for short, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes they do need to tell you where it is. A lot of Sydney schools seem to have like different campuses or something, so we've got these ones. And some go to Certain College or Certain College, which is probably the same school, I'm going to guess. So you can probably figure those ones out, though, with your human brains. What is more difficult is the initialisms. I am not originally from Sydney. I'm an outsider, even though I've been there for 15 years. It's because I just don't know all these acronyms. These are schools, apparently. You may or may not know them. I definitely don't know all of them at a glance. So you just need to be able to work out what these are, and potentially, maybe their parents have signed them up saying that they're from James Roos Agricultural High School, and then the kid on the day is just telling me they're from JRHS. And like, if I can match that, that'd be great for working out which kid is which kid. So we got that, but don't be fooled. Not all initialisms in Sydney are really initialisms. These are just the things that they go by. For instance, PLC. Not to be confused with PLC Sydney, very different school. If you've got an appointment at PLC, do not go to PLC Sydney. You will be late. So we've got a few different things where you need to know which is an initialism and which is actually just what the school goes by these days. And don't get me started on the ones like this with the nicknames that, like, of course you're going to say Monty for short, but that's not the real name. And if you put Monty into Google Maps, you're not going to find out where that school is to make a map. So I did want to make a map because then I can make a pretty map and be like, oh, look, sponsors, look at all these places that we get the kids to come from and they learn and it's great. And give us more money and then we will make it go into even more places. And how exciting would that be? But these are all the names from a single Girls Programming Network event of different schools. They've got all our different certain colleges in there. We need to be able to map them out. And when I first did this, I'm like, maybe ChatGPT can help me with this. It's great because names of schools are all over the internet and it can probably figure them out. And it did a pretty good job of doing that. And I was able to put that into a mapping tool. And it wasn't perfect. I don't know if that was ChatGPT's fault or maybe just this free mapping tool that I used. Either way, it made a pretty cool map of all the girls who come to GPN. Yeah, in Sydney. So that was good enough. But, you know, just to play with it a bit, I was like, what else can I do to pretend that I too am a true Sydney-sider? I can make a little chatbot and I can put in a name and then it will tell me what the name of that school truly is. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. But then, you know, I wanted to think about how we can continue matching, but not for these, you know, organizations that are all over the internet. They've got websites, they might have advertising, they've got kids winning awards. They're in the data set that's been scraped up into the LLM universe. Kids' names, notoriously not on the internet. For some reason, we're not putting all the kids' personal, like PII, out on the internet. Maybe that's a really good thing. So how can I do fuzzy matching for humans? As I said, we've got that kid with the deadly peanut allergy. I also have a survey result for her somewhere saying, hello, I'm Sally, and I am in the Kookaburra room today. And I don't know that this is the same person, potentially. Maybe she's Sally Ann when she signed up, and she's put Sally in our survey over here. And I've got to be able to work out which person is which. So that's my primary thing. And then also tracking those kids as they move around, not just within GPN Sydney, around the many GPNs across Australia, which we've seen, which is really cool. A kid coming to GPN Perth, going to Canberra for uni, then becoming a GPN Canberra tutor, and then moving back to Perth to become a GPN Perth senior leader. That's a really cool story. Now to find all those children, and now / adults. So, as I said, I've got my rego information. That's got like the source of truth for most of the time. We've got our survey data, which has some interesting things in there, which the survey data is always entered by the children, so it's always got a little bit of an interesting thing in there. Okay, so what does this data look like? We might have a student. She's called Elizabeth Wong. Well, potentially that's what she's been registered as. Maybe by herself, maybe by a parent. Then I could see any kind of thing like this on the survey responses. We've got, and these things might also change over the time. You might be Elizabeth Wong in primary school, you go by Lizzie Wong by the time you're in year 8. By the time you're in year 11 or 12, Liz Wong is what you are going by. You might have alternate names. You might have different orders in which you put your alternate names. And with just this flame thing, that's a real example. This is, we've asked the kids, tell us your name, and this is a real example of someone put flame, and then we're like, hello, we're just doing a check for the names that are going to be on the certificates. is Flame in this room? And she's like, oh, that's me. Like, do you want Flame to be on your certificate? No. Her mum was not going to be very happy about that. Matching as many of the kids as we can would be great. So, we know Elizabeth Wong, she's got the EpiPen. Lizzie W is in the Pac-Man classroom. That's the goal, to match those two together. But as I've said, kids' full names and other information about them, not all over the internet, which is great. So instead, we're going to use an algorithmic approach to hopefully match these kids together. So I looked at 6 different matching libraries, which are based on a few things, such as things like edit distance and variations of those kinds of algorithms. Some are dedicated nickname matching algorithms, where they have a bank of nicknames for other names, and they match those together. And Fuzzy Wuzzy and Rapid Fuzz are a bit of like a hybrid between those two, with Rapid Fuzz being like the iteration on Fuzzy Wuzzy. Okay, so firstly, I started by generating myself 100 or so fake students with real names, and then a variety of nicknames, informal versions of their names, spelling mistakes of their names, and things like that. I made sure that they represent Australians' multicultural community, which is cool, because if you go... So I've generated these using Copilot, and yeah, was it ChatGPT? One of those. AI helped me out a bunch, but if you put it in the generic one, it will just give you more like Hernandezes than you've met in Australia in your whole life, because the data set is skewed to an American population, which is great generally, but for this instance, I'm like, how's it going to work? Especially we have a lot of Southeast Asian members of our communities. How does it work with names that are switched in order? So I wanted to check out those and make sure we get that representation done well. So we've got all of our spelling mistakes, our partial names, and our combinations thereof of these nicknames and whatnot. Okay, so I ran it through my 317 different name combinations. How this algorithm worked was it took a query name, one of these misspelt or nicknamerized names, and it randomly selected 10 of the correct names to match it against. Of all of the algorithms, we were able to match 298 names that was matched for every single algorithm. So that was pretty good. A lot of them got it the first time with not too much work. The distance libraries did struggle on 19 of the names. I do have when case corrected on all of these, because some of the libraries surprisingly don't include the dot lower of the data by itself. So for instance, you would think that Rapid Fuzz, being an iteration on Fuzzy Wuzzy, wouldn't keep, in fact, that they're going to match that upper lowercase matching, but it actually got rid of that. So I've corrected the case for all of these, because some of them really did struggle when you kind of maybe you would think that was built in. So we've got that taken care of. So yeah, in the distant ones, 19 names didn't go so well. A lot of these were Southeast Asian names with the reverse ordering, so that makes sense given it didn't really consider for that. Some of them also work on a sliding window kind of style algorithm, but once again, that's not really going to be supportive for those kinds of reversed order names. And the nickname-only library struggled with 15 of the names. So overall, they're pretty good. Overall, they look like this. And our Fuzzy Wuzzy and our Rapid Fuzz, once we case corrected them, both did really quite well. And then the only singular name that was not matched at all in any of these algorithms was Charlie Chen. That just so happened that the 10 algorithmically selected random names happened to have Charlotte Murphy in there, and Charlie and Charlotte are typical nicknames, so it did rate higher than Chen Zhao Ming, which would have been the correct response. But apart from that, and one other name, Rapid Fuzz was the winner overall. The only other name that it wasn't able to match was Rita Thompson to Margaret Thompson, which I was like, you know what, it's probably going to be okay. We don't have a heap of Margarets coming through in the age 9 years old to 18-year-olds at the moment. It's not really in vogue at the moment, so I think it's going to be okay. But potentially, this name was picked up by one of the nickname-based algorithms that included, obviously, this combination in it. But yeah, we went, let's go with the one that worked on nearly every name, because the nickname algorithms did have that error, fall down in a lot of those Southeast Asian names. So I'm going to give this a go on my real data. Hope there's not too many readers coming along. And if so, if there's a lot of readers, I can always integrate a second phase later with this nickname aspect of it, with more libraries. More libraries better, potentially. So here I went through our real data from our Term 3 Sydney workshop. All names have been changed for the privacy of the adorable children who come to learn with us. So how this worked, I grabbed a query name, for instance, Clara Smythe. Then I grabbed every student who was checked in with that QR code at the start of the day, and I stuck it into Rapid Fuzz and was like, please give me the best name and the score that's associated with it. And then I also repeated it for the student query, as well as all the students who were not checked in, because sometimes they evade me and they get around the little QR code and then they're in there. So I'm going to check them too, see if there's a better match in there. But we're going to prefer the ones that are checked in if we have a match there. So then we get back our two responses. We've got our checked in response. Clara Smythe sounds a lot like Clara J. Smythe, probably her, 95 score. And then Clara Smythe, probably not Claire Sanders. We're going to get rid of that one. So using this algorithm and setting a minimum match score of 80%, we were able to correctly match 124 out of 128 students. 117 of those are exact matches of students who know what their name is and are committed to that spelling of it. 7 of the matches were found which were shortenings or misspellings, this, that, or the other. There were no false matches, which is great. Then sometimes students are signed up without their last name. So this included some of the ones that were remaining in our 4 students that I'm like, but how do I match you? Firstly, let's see, we have Mia Jessica. So that's in our survey, or that's in our registration data. It's like, okay, if a kid comes along and they gives me a different version, potentially with their last name, I'm not going to have anything to match into. So how can we make that better? With your registration, you also have a bunch of other data. It might be your school, it might be your email address, it might be your parents' name or the buyer's name, which might be Jason Williams. And I'm just going to make some assumptions that maybe you have the last name as the person who signed you up, just to see if I can get lucky. So let's see if we can find Mia Jessica Williams. And then using this way of going, hey, let's make our registration data have this name plus this optional extra last name concatenated on the end. I'm able to find one match out of the 4 remaining students. I'm like, that's pretty good. Okay, so we can have this 2-phase matching system. We can keep adding more data. So we've still got 3 students unmatched, and I was not able to match any of these by my human brain. So I'm like, okay, I can't put it, the AI and the algorithms too, much in the dirt, because they did a good job. They did as best as I can. So you had 2 students who I'm like, I just can't work out who you are. And the 3rd student, she was part of a group of people who decided that they were the Powerpuff Girls for the day. And she had written her name as Bubbles. And it was pretty easy to find them because they were talking about it all the time. So some of the kids, as we heard with Flame or Bubbles, they just, they want to hurt the data. And they want to hurt me in the most fun way possible, in individuality. So that's going pretty well. I'm like, okay, actually, compared to generative AI, maybe this is actually the way to go. It's really fast to run it like that. But I figured I'd give it a go to see how generative AI could work with a RAG pattern for querying these student names. So got myself some Azure OpenAI with GPT-5 model, and then all of the registration data. So it's pretty fast to write all of these, especially if you have Copilot. You're like, yes, please get all the data out. And then I'm going to quickly query with this prompt, hey, please take all of the survey response information, name, school, and year, as well as all of the registration data that I got here, which includes the same similar fields. I could put even more registration data in here. I could put your allergies, see if you match up. We could find out. But just to start simple, we'll go with smaller, fewer tokens, see how we can go. Then we wait a long time compared to my other algorithms, which all ran very quickly. And I don't really know how long it took because I went and cooked dinner and I came back and then it was done, but it definitely took a little time. So that's definitely a downside. Here's the comparison of the results. We still managed to match 124 of the 128 students correctly. Interestingly, they weren't the exact same set. We were able to pick up the student who we needed to do the second phase of matching with rapid fuzz within the first round of the GPT-5 matching, which was cool. But we didn't pick up one of the names we did match, which I think should have been able to be matched. It was just all of the data was corrected. She was just missing a last name from the survey results. So everything else matched. So I was a little confused as to why that didn't get correctly matched. So overall, pretty cool, pretty close, pretty easy to do that RAG approach from just like, catch the data, rather than me be like, okay, school of the year, get that out. Let's compare all the year 10s. Now we're going to do this matching. Let's compare all the year 9s. Let's do this matching. Who's from Sheridan College? Who's from Chatswood High School? So it was really easy for me to do, but I did have to wait. Luckily, I did have dinner to cook, so it was okay. So I do see that this could potentially be part of a further flow aspect hybrid approach to doing this matching. Because we got really great results from Rapid Fuzz, the basic, just take my name, compare it to all these names method. Then we were able to pick up a little bit more from the second phase of that, and potentially the last phase could help us with any nicknames that we're uncertain about from different cultures that we're unfamiliar with, or even just being like, sometimes the children put in joke names, help me find which ones of these are cool kid names, because that way I don't have to stay down with the kids, and it will tell me what the latest things are that the kids are like all joking about. Maybe they'll put the name as Skivvy Toilet, and I don't have to keep up on whatever next iteration of Skivvy Toilet is. So, with all that, that's pretty good matching for, within one event to be able to find where someone who's done a survey result, and I can go and tell my wellbeing officer, hey, the kid who has the EpiPen, she's in the Pac-Man room. And be like, oh, good to know. I will go let their room coordinator know that she can't have any of the peanut M&Ms. Not that we would ever buy a peanut M&M for GPN. That's just too dangerous. But there's more matching to be done. I'm not done yet, but I have not been able to do it for this conference because this is the second conference talk I've given today. So what I also want to do going firstly, test this on more of my data. I have 17 years of data. Why not match more of it? I've just done one GPN Sydney workshop. So I want to see more of the data for Sydney, also more of the data from around Australia to see if it similarly works. But I'm pretty confident it's going to do a pretty good job. Then I want to work on this longitudinal tracking of students through our system around Australia to see where they end up, how many times they come, how likely, especially once they get to being either a GPN junior tutor. We have our year 9s through 12s tutoring the little tiny ones, and I can get to know them a bit better. And our adult tutors teaching our green GPN students there in high school. I can find out if they're studying things in high school that are IT related. I can see if they've gone to university and done an IT degree. And I can be like, hey, this person who came to a bunch of GPNs throughout the years, she's now doing this cool PhD in bioinformatics, and we can tell that story, which would be really exciting. So that's what I'm hoping to track out next. But that's a lot of data of at least 7,000, probably more now, historic enrollments of GPN students over 9 locations that we've been at over the years, and people move around the country, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to need a bigger data structure or something to work out how to match all of this, so that's my next endeavor. So yeah, thank you all. I hope you have enjoyed this. Most of the code that I have pushed is now in the repo, with small adjustments coming for that second phase of matching for the fuzzy rapid fuzz. But everything else is there now. So yeah, please feel free to ask questions if we have time for that.
What I hope is your second mug of the day.
It is my second mug of the day.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Renee. We do have time for a couple of questions. Does anyone have a question for Renee? Oh, up the back there.
Run.
Great talk. I just wondered whether you considered using like a combinatoric, like picking without replacement situation for the names that you didn't match. So like, I know that I have this many surveys that the kids filled out, this many people who registered, these ones have already been matched. Being able to say, which of these match the remaining names rather than all of the names that we've already matched as well? Would that have helped, or is that a thing that you've considered?
Yeah, that is something I considered and ran out of time to do both concurrently. But yeah, no, I do want to do, what I do want to do is have that bi-directional matching, because sometimes we have kids that have like logged into the event at the front desk with their QR code, and we then could be like, there's 3 kids here that haven't been matched and 3 kids in classrooms, and then at least a human would be able to either look at them or visit the child and be like, hello, are you Sally Williams? Like, oh no, Sally Williams is my sister, but she was sick, so I'm Tina Williams, and I came in her place instead. I'm like, that would make a lot of sense. So at least we could track those kids down, because we do know what rooms they're in.
Hi, my question is, when you sent off the kids' names to GPT to try and get some matches,
Yes.
what did you do to address privacy concerns?
Yes, so my first thing was, I work at Microsoft, and I read the terms of use and where the data goes, because I'm like, this is a bunch of kids' data. And I was like, what happens to the data? And I'm like, okay, this is okay, because it specifically says that they're not remembered. Data, things are not trained on them, so they don't go into the LLM universe, and it's all right. So, you know, governments and whatnot are using like these algorithms and stuff as well. If you have some data that you're like, I really, really am concerned about it, you can run a lot of these models locally using Olama, so I can recommend that as well.
All done for questions? All right, can we have another round of applause for Renee?